You can change your job, move to a new city, cut ties, reinvent your wardrobe, erase your digital history. You can even vanish into the mountains, live off the grid, and delete every trace of who you were. But one thing remains, you. No matter how far you run, how loud the distractions are, or how carefully the masks are crafted, you are always there, watching, listening, waiting. And that's exactly the terror Soren Kierkegaard described nearly 2 centuries ago. We think freedom is escape from pain, from the past, from pressure. But Kierkegaard argued that the most terrifying prison isn't made of bars or circumstance. It's made of self. What does it mean to be trapped within yourself? What happens when your greatest fear isn't the world, but your reflection? Kierkegaard believed most people live in despair, not the loud, dramatic kind. No, a quiet despair, a numbness, a subtle ache beneath the surface, a sense that something's missing, but you can't quite name it. So, you scroll, you shop, you chase goals, you pretend. And yet, when it's extremely late at night, the ache returns. He called this the sickness unto death, not a physical death, a spiritual one, the death of becoming something other than who you truly are. Kierkegaard divided the self into two aspects: the finite and the infinite. The finite encompasses your daily existence, including your job, routines, physical being, and finances. In contrast, the infinite represents your potential, comprising your ideals, aspirations, and spirit. Achieving a fulfilling life requires a balance between these two. However, many individuals find themselves trapped. They either become overly focused on the finite, holding on to comfort and familiarity, or they get caught up in the infinite, drifting in dreams without taking action. And when you deny one part of yourself, something starts to break. There's a gap between who you are now and who you could be. This split is the source of despair, and the more you run from it, the worse it gets. But why would we run from ourselves? Because the truth is heavy. Freedom is terrifying. When you finally confront who you are, not who people think you are, not who you wish you were, it shakes the ground beneath your feet. Most of us don't want to know. We'd rather stay distracted. Some of us build lives around avoiding ourselves. Kierkegaard wrote, "The greatest hazard of all, losing oneself, can occur rather quietly in the world as if it were nothing at all." And isn't that exactly what's happening today? We lose ourselves in noise, in the media, and scrolling. Even though we are more connected than ever, we are losing the ability to sit alone in a room and ask ourselves, who am I? The irony is that we crave authenticity. We celebrate those who find themselves. But the journey inward is the one most people fear. Looking inward can be challenging. It forces you to face not only your possibilities, but also your suffering, anxieties, and inconsistencies. You become aware of the facades you've put on, the untruths you've spoken, and the aspirations you've hidden away. And Kierkegaard believed that facing this truth is the beginning of becoming a real self. He referred to this journey as transforming into your true self in the presence of the divine. This isn't limited to a religious interpretation, but speaks to a profound existential experience. It involves presenting oneself stripped of all pretenses, devoid of excuses or societal masks, just the pure, unrefined essence of who you are. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary because until you face yourself, you're living someone else's life, a borrowed identity, a rehearsed performance. You can feel this when you're around others. You smile, but it doesn't feel real. You succeed, but it doesn't satisfy. You keep moving, but it feels like running in place. That's the despair Kierkegaard described, and it's everywhere. So how do you escape this despair? Here's the paradox. You don't. You don't escape yourself. You meet yourself. You sit in silence. You lean into the discomfort. You ask the hard questions and resist the urge to flee. You stop trying to be someone else. You begin to become who you are. And that process is messy. It's nonlinear. It's painful. But it's also the most liberating thing you'll ever do when you stop running away and finally confront your authentic self. You realize that what you feared was never who you are at the core. It was your avoidance, your distorted viewpoint, your mask. Kierkegaard believed that despair isn't a curse. It's a signal, a clue. It tells you something's off. Something within you wants to be heard. Your despair isn't your enemy. It's your invitation. But most people silence it or worse medicate it with consumption, distraction, or busyness. We treat symptoms while the soul starves. This is why, despite living in a world overflowing with plenty, individuals experience a sense of emptiness. The problem lies not in a lack of resources in the world, but in our failure to introspect. We've traded meaning for comfort, depth for speed, truth for attention. And this is why Kierkegaard's writings feel more urgent than ever, because they remind us that the most important journey isn't outward, it's inward. The journey back to the self you lost along the way. He doesn't provide straightforward solutions or detailed instructions. Instead, he reflects your reality at you and says, observe. You're already aware of what you're neglecting. But he also offers hope. He believed that despair is not the end. It's the beginning of a life lived honestly, deeply, authentically. The key, he said, is to choose the self. Not the self that others expect, not the one that wins praise, but the true self, the one that calls to you in quiet moments, the one you buried long ago. That choice is terrifying because it means letting go of who you thought you were. It means risking failure, rejection, and solitude. But it also means something greater. It means freedom. It's not about having the liberty to act however you please, but rather the ability to be your true self. In a noisy world, that is the most elusive quality of all. But what does choosing the self look like? It's not a single moment of enlightenment. It's not a dramatic breakthrough on a mountaintop. It's a daily return, a quiet, deliberate turning inward. It's waking up and asking, what part of me have I abandoned today? And then listening for the answer. Sometimes it's subtle. A conversation where you didn't speak your truth. A passion you keep postponing. A truth you sense but avoid because it might cost you comfort. And yet, Kierkegaard insisted that to be truly human is to stand in that discomfort, to choose it. Because with that choice comes the beginning of authenticity. And authenticity isn't perfection. It's not a polished self-image. It's not curated. It's raw. It's flawed. But it's real. This is where freedom truly begins. Not in escaping responsibility, but in embracing it. The responsibility of being yourself in a world that profits from your conformity. Kierkegaard called this the leap of faith. Not faith in a dogma, but the belief in existence, faith in meaning. Faith in the idea that your life is not an accident, and neither is your despair. The leap is terrifying because it's a leap into uncertainty, into vulnerability, into the unknown. And yet, this is where transformation happens. When you finally stop bargaining with life, when you stop saying, I'll be myself once it's safe, or once I'm successful, or once they approve, and instead choose to be yourself now, without guarantees. That is freedom. The world won't always applaud it. It might resist it. People may pull away. You may lose things, comfort, familiarity, and control. But what you gain is worth infinitely more. You gain your voice, your vision, your sense of meaning, your soul. You stop needing the world to validate you because you're finally rooted in something deeper, something immovable. This is why Kierkegaard believed the individual must go through despair alone. Because no one else can walk into your soul for you. No one else can. Face your conflicts. Recognize your potential or acknowledge your weaknesses, and yet still decide to embrace you. Only you can do that. And when you do, something awakens, something ancient, something true. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg for attention. It simply is a quiet knowing that you are no longer running. You are no longer pretending. You are no longer asleep. And that's when the game changes. Because once you're no longer trying to escape yourself, you stop being controlled by fear. You stop performing. You stop fragmenting. You become whole. Not perfect, but whole. This concept, referred to by Kierkegaard as the self that is transparently rooted in its originating power, emphasizes alignment rather than mere independence. It pertains to achieving harmony with one's true nature and purpose. And maybe that sounds abstract, but you felt it even if just for a moment. Those fleeting seconds when you said what you truly believed, when you acted with courage, when you stopped lying to yourself, when you dared to be seen. That's the self he's talking about. It's rare. It's sacred, and it's waiting beneath all the noise, the shame, the layers you've built to survive. But here's the truth. No one tells you that becoming yourself isn't just a philosophical idea. It's a rebellion. In a world built on distraction, authenticity is resistance. In a culture obsessed with more, choosing meaning is a revolution. In a society that rewards performance, choosing presence is an act of courage. So ask yourself, where are you hiding? What are you avoiding? What have you buried in the name of acceptance, success, or safety? And are you ready, truly ready to stop running? Since the trek back to yourself isn't a direct path, it's a labyrinth, a spiral. It will guide you through joy and grief, through clarity and bewilderment. But at its center lies the one thing you've been seeking all along. You, not the idealized version, not the broken version, but the real one. The one who sees, who feels, who longs, who questions, the one who is no longer willing to abandon himself. This is Kierkegaard's dilemma, the inescapable paradox. To be free, you must face yourself. To live, you must first die to illusion. To become whole, you must walk through your brokenness. And if you dare to do that, not once, but every day, you'll discover something that no amount of success, approval, or escape can offer. You'll discover peace. Not the peace of avoidance, but the peace that comes from finally coming home. So let me ask you this. What part of yourself have you been running from? And what would happen if you stopped? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. What resonated most deeply? What part of this inner journey are you in? And if this message found you at the right time, if something stirred within you before, don't let it fade. Sit with it, reflect on it, and keep going. Because the journey into the self is the most painful, beautiful, and necessary journey you'll ever take. You don't need to have all the answers. You exactly need the courage to take the first honest step. If this video helped you, please take a moment to like it and subscribe to the channel for more explorations into the mind, the soul, and the mystery of being. We're just getting started.